This is the 10-5 video on factoring x squared plus bx plus c. Our first problem to factor is x squared plus 8x plus 15. And to do this, our goal is to find factors of c that add up to be b. So just to review, a is the coefficient of x squared, which is 1. B is 8. C is 15. So my job here is to figure out what multiplies together to give me 15, but adds together to give me 8. All right, I hope you're thinking of the factors 5 and 3, because when I multiply 5 times 3, I get 15, and when I add 5 plus 3, I get 8. These two numbers are very important when it comes to factoring this particular problem. So I'm going to break this trinomial into two binomials using the numbers 5 and 3. So my answer is going to look like this: x plus 5 times x plus 3. This is my final answer. Now the neat thing about factoring is it's really easy to check your work. So what I can do right now is I can go ahead and I can FOIL x plus 5 times x plus 3. And if I get x squared plus 8x plus 15, that tells me that this is the correct answer. So if I FOIL this quick, I'll get x squared plus 3x plus 5x plus 15. When I combine my like terms, I'll get x squared plus 8x plus 15. Now remember, this is just my check. My final answer is this. Because my check matches my original problem, I know I did my answer or my work correctly. Here's the next trinomial I need to factor into two binomials. So again, I need to look at the factors of c that add up to be b. So in this case, I need to figure out what numbers will multiply together to give me 20, but add to give me -9. Now because of this negative, because 9 is negative, I'll have to be a little extra tricky here. So I'm going to start with my sum. To get -9, thinking of the factors of 20, I'm going to have to add -5 and -4. When I multiply -5 and -4, I get +20. So now I'm going to use these two factors, -5 and -4, in two binomials to factor. So I'm going to factor x squared minus 9x plus 20 into x minus 5 times x minus 4. This is my final answer. And again, just like in the last problem, I can use FOIL to check my answer. If I FOIL this out and get x squared minus 9x plus 20, I know I did my work correctly. And I just want to take a moment to point out that you might have written your final answer like this: x minus 4 times x minus 5. Either answer is correct because of the commutative property of multiplication. Remember, it doesn't matter what order we multiply in. In my next problem, the directions say to factor and solve. And you can see that I have an equation here. The last two problems I had an expression. So I can solve this one because it's set equal to 0. Right now, let's not worry about the solving part. Let's just worry about factoring this. So if I look at my equation or my expression, I need to think of the factors of -9 that add up to be -8. So what multiplies together to give me -9, but adds to give me -8? So I need to think of the factors of -9. So if I do -9 times 1, I'll get -9. And if I do -9 plus 1, I'll get -8. So these are my two factors. So I'm going to go ahead and break x squared minus 8x minus 9 into two binomials, x minus 9 times x plus 1. And then I'm going to go ahead and add equals 0 here because this really is an equation. So I need to go ahead and make sure that I add it down here. Now at this moment, I can go ahead and check my answer using FOIL to make sure that x minus 9 times x plus 1 really indeed is exactly how I factor x squared minus 8x minus 9. Now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the solving portion of this. So this is factored. That's my answer factored. Now I need to solve. So I need to think back into section 10.4. In 10.4, to solve these equations, I set this binomial equal to 0 and this second binomial equal to 0. So I'm going to do x minus 9 equals 0 and x plus 1 equals 0. I'm going to add 9 to both sides here. My first solution will be 9. And my second solution, after I subtract 1 from both sides, will be negative 1. So 9 and negative 1 are the two solutions. Here's one more example where we need to factor and solve. So again, we're going to go ahead and factor this, and then we'll solve it. So right now, again, I can disregard, or I don't need to worry about the equals 0. So I'm thinking about the factors of negative 18 that add up to be positive 3. So what multiplies together to give me negative 18? And what same factors add to give me positive 3? Well, if I do 6 times negative 3, I'll get negative 18. And if I do 6 plus negative 3, I'll get positive 3. So those must be my factors. So I'll factor x squared plus 3x minus 18 into x plus 6 times x minus 3. And again, I need to add the equals 0 because I can't change an equation into an expression. So I just need to carry that equals 0 down here. All right, this is my answer for factoring. That is my factored answer. Keep in mind that's a 6 here, not a b. Okay, now I need to go on to the solving portion. So remember again in section 10.4, I need to set this binomial equal to 0 and this binomial equal to 0. So x plus 6 equals 0 and x minus 3 equals 0. All right, so I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. I'll get x equals negative 6. This is my first answer. And in the second equation, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. And I get x equals 3. This is my second answer. So my answers for factoring, or my answer for factoring is this, these two binomials. For solving, these are the two numbers. It doesn't matter what order I put them in. If you check your answers in the book, they typically put the smaller number first. These two numbers, negative 6 and 3, these are not ordered pairs, so you would not write them as such. You can write your answer like this, x equals negative 6, x equals 3, or you could write them with a comma or an and symbol between them. So that is how you factor and solve in section 10.5.